My name is Mario, and I'm a reader with the Boston College Volunteer Reader Program. And schools are closed now because of the virus, so we're doing some readings online. And today I have a book called Octavius Bloom and the House of Doom. On Crabapple Street, around the bend, in back of the house near the dark dead end, stuffed up inside. Let's take it from the top, shall we? On Crabapple Street, around the bend, in back of the house near the dark dead end, stuffed up inside a rickety shed, is the source of a horrible, terrible dread. Something lives there, but what? No one knows. So it's one place in town where no kid ever goes. Not one has the guts to go near the front door of the strange and mysterious Priscilla O'More. She works in the shadows, sneaks round the yard, and her howling screams keep the bravest on guard. Just what could it possibly be all about? Only one kid was willing to figure it out. "Class," Mr. M said, "Octavius Bloom," and the new kid stood up in front of the room. He was dressed in bright clothes and had wild red hair. His top secret lunchbox was labeled "Beware." It was filled with things a detective would use for snooping around and for gathering clues. The tools of the trade he showed off with a grin. Where mystery calls, that's where I begin. I'm new to your school, but I'll tell you the truth. I'm a genuine Pinkerton sleuth. The class was excited with questions galore. This kid, a detective? They had to know more. Did he find crooked villains, fight monsters, stop crime? Hold on, said Octavius, one at a time. I'm sure there is something that makes your skin creep, that haunts you at night and won't let you sleep. Then one awful picture filled everyone's head. Priscilla O'More's big old house with the shed. There are ghosts in the shed, there on Crabapple Street, cried Billy K. Moe as he leapt from his seat. No, it's full of vampires, said Matty. It's true. Listen, said Jimmy. I've seen more than you. I looked in the yard once. I thought I was brave. Hands crawled from the ground. It's a big zombie grave. Even Shirley McGee overheard a strange call Miss O'More had made on the phone at the mall. She bought puppy ears. Yuck! But believe what I say. I saw them delivered the very next day. Werewolves, Will whispered. They eat puppy ears. And together they shared their worst possible fears. Okay, said Octavius, enough is enough. You've given me plenty of top-notch good stuff. I'll visit this house at the end of the day. I can tackle this case without further delay. When the last bell stopped ringing, he packed up his tools and was off to the shed with the werewolves and ghouls. Octavius searched, and it soon became clear that at least in the yard there was nothing to fear. He picked up a dirty old glove and he smiled. When we've got here, our visions of monsters run wild. They thought that this thing was a zombie's hand, and those graves, they're really just piles of sand. But more mystery lay behind the shed's door, so Octavius went home to research some more. By noon the next day he had found enough clues and was ready to share what he hoped was good news. "I've solved it, I'm sure," he announced after lunch, "using all of your tales and my own little hunch. Come along after school, we can go as a group. I can check one more thing and then give you the scoop." So they waited until all the daylight was gone and then gathered at last on Miss O'More's lawn. Octavius leaned on the door to the shed, cleared his throat twice, and then boldly he said, "There's nothing to fear, folks. The source of your fright is really—" Whoops! Whoa! Crash! He vanished from sight. "I'm okay," he called out, but the others had fled. "All right then," he thought, "I should check out this shed." And there, on the ground, just beside his right shoe, Octavius found his last mystery clue. It was shiny and green. He made his notes brief. "Just as I thought," he sighed with relief. Then suddenly shadows. He tensed up with fear. A thump and a bump. Was someone else here? "Hello there," he called, but no answer came back, and he couldn't quite see in the nearly pitch black. Feeling around, he found needle-sharp spikes. Octavius froze and whispered, "Yikes!" He thought something moved at the end of the room, and the dark came alive in that house of doom. He heard a door open. Octavius screamed. What he saw was much worse than he ever dreamed. A giant and writhing, hairy beast had cornered him for an evening feast. It towered above him 10 feet high, and Octavius gulped, "I'm going to die." He dove for a corner and hid on the floor. And the monster called from the open door, "Are you okay?" A sweet voice said. Octavius nodded his aching head. When he opened his eyes and looked around, not one single monster was there to be found. But all around were fancy plants. And Priscilla O'More in her gardening pants. "I was checking my cactus," she said with a grin. "But what are you doing? How'd you get in?" Octavius chuckled and told her the tales of mystery shadows and ghostly wails. "Sometimes," she laughed, "these plants poke my hand. I'll holler a bit, but that's all. Understand?" Octavius nodded. "I know what you mean. Now the rest of the kids need to see what I've seen." The others had scattered and run off to hide. But returned when Octavius stepped back outside. "Ahem, here's the thing," Octavius said. "The house is not haunted, and neither is the shed. The clues that I used are all scattered about. Take a good look around and you'll figure it out. The monsters are cacti, lit up on dark nights. They cast shadows that give you the wickedest frights. This creepy old shed with its ominous gloom, is a really fantastic cactus room. Remember this fact, Octavius beamed. Things are not always as bad as they seemed. There's no problem in town that's too big or too small. If I can help out, please give me a call. Since the shed's awful monsters have now been exposed, this mystery case is officially closed.